Welcome back. The Ford government says it's investing an additional $70 million to support workers most impacted by Donald Trump's tariffs, like in the steel, aluminum, and auto sectors.
The Premier making this announcement today in Hamilton at the United Steelworkers Center. He says the funding will go towards programs that are designed to help workers access new training and employment services, and also skills training for in-demand jobs.
Meanwhile, a new study from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business shows that nearly 1 in 5 small businesses dealing with tariff costs won't last more than 6 months if nothing changes. For more on this, we're joined live tonight by Christina Santini, Director of National Affairs at CFIB. Good to have you on, Christina. Thanks so much for joining us. I mean, these numbers are troubling. Do they surprise you?
They are troubling, of course. Do they surprise me? To some extent, we've had numbers that it does seem to be going up, but many of our members basically have been holding on and not necessarily pivoting or finding different solutions in this mix, hoping that it's going to get over, it's going to go back to normal. This sort of all sounds familiar. So now what we're seeing and is this prolonged pain, this prolonged uncertainty is really causing a lot of members to sort of have to face that they need to make hard decisions. They need to pivot their operations, or they need to start rethinking, maybe scaling down, putting off investment plans. We do know that about 39% of our members are not going to be putting forward the investments in their business that they thought they were going to do. So this is going to hurt small business growth and small business viability in the immediate future.
Christina, I'm actually thankful that you said the word pivot twice there, because it reminded me, it was the word of the year in 2020 during the pandemic. And I remember the CFIB talking about how devastating it was for small businesses then and the lack thereof of recovery afterwards. Is this another, let's just say, straw that could potentially break a camel's back if nothing's done?
Indeed, they came out of the pandemic a lot less resilient. Many of our members still have debt coming out of the pandemic linked to CEBA. They don't need other loan programs. They need actual reprieve. They need fiscal reprieve. They need to see the countermeasures or the tariffs that they pay going back to their pockets in some manner. That is what we are calling the government to do. We did ask our members which tariff measures were affecting them the most. Our members were affected the most by the steel and aluminum tariffs from the U.S., but also from our own government's countermeasures. That's tariffs they have to pay because the government is trying to go one-on-one with the U.S. So ultimately, we're calling on that pot of money that's been growing, that the government's been accumulating, to get it back to small business owners, to get it back into their pockets so that they can keep the doors open, keep serving their clients, keep hiring their employees, and hopefully help them pivot towards different markets or different lines of business that aren't reliant on their traditional relationships.
Christina, the federal and provincial governments will say altogether they're throwing billions of dollars at this issue. Why is that not enough? Tell me why the loan program doesn't work.
So loan program, again, as I referenced, they don't need more debt. Many of them came out of the pandemic with debt. This is not something they want to be buried on some more. Our members' level of optimism are at historical lows and have been for the last 5 years. If you look at the decades that preceded it, it was much higher overall. So it's been a very tumultuous time. We can only imagine, even for ourselves, more debt. That's not comforting. That's not reassuring. What they need is reprieve. What they need is competitive fiscal policies. What they need is government policies that lower the cost of doing business. And that's where the government needs to focus its energy. So removing those internal barriers to trade, not in a hodgepodge way, but in terms of adoption of mutual recognition across the board, removing the regulatory burden that's become way too excessive over the years at all levels of government, and just really looking at their tax policy. We're even asking the federal government to consider temporarily reducing it significantly to 0%. And that could help those that have been able to garner some money, keep it, reinvest, pay off their debt, potentially expand, and really empowering our small business owners to be part of that solution. We've heard a lot of beautiful language from the government of wanting to build one Canadian economy. Well, in Canada, we are an economy that's highly driven by small businesses, small, medium-sized businesses. We can't leave them out of the equation. A lot of the programs we've seen, they're targeted to bigger players.
We're going to have to leave it there, Christina. Christina Santini is the Director of National Affairs at the CFIB. We thank you for your time tonight, Christina.
Thanks so much, Christina. Appreciate the conversation.